don't fall for the myth of balanced education. Bank of Korea Governor Lee came up with an intriguing approach to ensure price stability. It was a proposition to restrict application to elite Seoul National University from aspirants living in the Gangnam neighborhood in Seoul, the hotbed of expensive apartment prices, to make more room for those applying from outer Seoul regions, so as to tame inflation in home prices in the capital, as well as promote balanced growth across the country. In this belief that a seasoned economist like Lee would suggest such an unorthodox idea, I read through a BOK research paper and found it had a similar conclusion based on empirical studies. The recommendation from Lee and the BOK economists brought attention to the accumulated chain policy failures that led to Korea's structural predicament. Let's first look at the state-administered college entrance system. Before policy from 1974 imposed the standardization of high schools across the nation and the unionization of teachers from the late 1980s. There had been elite high schools in local regions that competitively sent graduates to SNU as open as schools in Seoul, but things changed after elitism in education was shunned through the proliferation of liberal-minded teachers who championed democratic and universal education. Elite schools in provincial areas were not bred through government sponsorship under grandiose slogan of balanced growth or balanced education. They were the result of the combined efforts of jealous schools, students, and parents to not fall behind education standards in Seoul, but a narrow-minded policy with the sole objective of quelling the overheated competition to get into select prestigious universities in Seoul, also quenched the self-reinforcing longing in provincial residents. Authorities had belatedly imposed a quota for students from local regions under the banner of balanced education, but the effect had been small. They ended up producing another populist makeshift gimmick. Despite the myriad list of policies to support regional growth, few elite schools are left in the provinces. Students are biased toward the universities in Seoul because tertiary education in their area has become subpar. Authorities have been imposing restrictions around the capital region from the 1980s to contain overconcentration around Seoul, but more than half of the population lives in or around Seoul now, while the standards of other areas are deteriorating. Inequality and imbalance issues should be gone by now in Korea if an equal divide of resources and opportunities can ensure uniform advances in education and living standards across the country. But so far, no country truly tackled the balanced growth of the issue. The answer to balanced growth is not equal distribution. It can be achieved through a concentrated promotion of metropolitan, university, and high school cohorts, cultivating growth through competition. That simple theory, however, gets ignored by Korean politics driven by ideology. Korea has become obsessed and overheated with private education because public education has descended into a pitfall state. Under the equalization policy, few elite schools are left. Secondary education has long been subpar because public education denounced superiority. Public policy entirely out of sync with reality because today's parents with higher incomes and fewer children want the best education for them, which explains the overwhelming demand for private education. Parents must squeeze out their monthly earnings to pay for their children's private tuitions for the high-level education they could have gotten for free when there had been many elite high schools. Authorities claimed that competition would be solved when education becomes universal. But the upshot is the menacingly competitive private education market. The state could be sued for pulling off such a universal scam against people. As public education can no longer be depended on for admission to dream universities, the wealth of parents who can afford to send their kids to expensive and selective cram schools decide the outcome of university entries now. Approaching the skewed education system with a balanced theory by making top universities favor students from local regions over those from Gangnam can only increase socialist egalitarianism. We need a system respecting diversity and the freedom to choose superior education. A regulatory policy targeting a certain area can only fail. It will end up creating Gangnam-like hotbed of families migrating to evade regulation. Whether restrictive policy toward Gangnam students can bring stability in home prices, as the BOK envisions, is also doubtful. The overheated real estate market in a certain area stems from relative price distortion, not from an overall inflation of absolute prices. It is common wisdom in macroeconomics to distinguish between the general price levels and the relative price level.